It is somewhat odd, uh, to say the least, that a sitting prime minister of Lebanon, Saad Hariri, would actually tender his resignation uh, on Saudi television from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and then would not come to Lebanon to follow up such a move according to all of the constitutional specifications for such an eventuality. So people in Lebanon have been quite puzzled at this development, and some have actually seen in it a rather poorly produced tragicomic play. But on the other hand, there are underlying ominous signs attached to this, given the regional atmosphere of tension between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, the statement that Prime Minister Hariri made announcing his resignation, in it he said that there was some danger on his own person. But actually, since then, all of the credible Lebanese security services and the Lebanese army have come out with official statements saying they have no knowledge and no information that there was any plot to assassinate the prime minister or to do him any kind of bodily harm. And so that aspect apparently has been discounted. There was lots of speculation initially about whether Hariri is actually free to move about, or whether he's been detained in Saudi Arabia, perhaps even as part of the ongoing detentions of princes and so on. It wasn't clear, and frankly, it's still not clear, even though he has been allowed to go to the Emirates briefly, and he's returning to Saudi Arabia. That may be a move simply to allay fears and put to rest suspicions that he is, in fact, not very free to move about. Obviously, his arrival in Lebanon would be a very important step. Now, what's behind all of this is a number of things. Saudi Arabia has been very frustrated regarding its failures almost everywhere in the Arab world, whether in the Syrian arena, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Lebanon, in the face of what the Saudis perceive as a kind of advancement of Iran. What is surprising about the sudden resignation of Hariri is that, in fact, he had been cohabiting with Hezbollah in Lebanon and for the past year. And in fact, all of this was part of a deal to bring General Michel Aoun as president of the Republic after 2 years of vacancy in the presidency in Lebanon. And during this past year, a lot of achievements have come about by the Hariri government, and as part of this deal, a budget was passed, an electoral law was put in place, and now parliamentary elections are scheduled for this coming spring. And people were, in a sense, anticipating that matters would start to improve and pick up. Certainly, economically, that was the case. So this came as a blow. And there has been some discontent in the Sunni community with the leadership of Hariri. This is a fact. He's been perceived by some as being weak, and by others as being rather tight-fisted, meaning stingy, as compared, say, with the generosity and largesse of his late father, Rafiq Hariri, as far as the Sunni community is concerned. In any case, matters now go beyond the person of Hariri. The question is, will Lebanon be able to put together a government to replace the fallen Hariri government? Many options, many scenarios are being considered. One is to have a small government of technocrats that would not include any of the political parties and certainly not include Hezbollah, whose main job would be to prepare for the spring elections. And after those elections, normal political life can resume. That is one idea. Other ideas are perhaps to rename Hariri himself as the new prime minister and start consultations on that basis. But that would require that he would need to come and he would need to approve. His future movement is very much inclined in that direction. So a number of things are being considered. However, we should not overlook the ominous side of all of this. It appears that there are some in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere who would like to cause trouble in Lebanon, mainly with the view of punishing Hezbollah or reducing its power. And doing that can occur in many ways, fabricating a crisis, perhaps using the presence of a large number of Syrian refugees in the country in one way or another to bring about internal unrest and foment sectarian trouble. One should be assured that the Lebanese are going to resist this because no one in Lebanon is really interested in revisiting the horrors of the civil war. And nobody wants to return to that. And so very few will fall into a manufactured trap of that sort, including Hezbollah themselves. So I think in that regard, there is some awareness of the danger. But who knows, things can get out of hand. Even though Lebanon has a strong army for internal purposes and very competent security services, those who want to foment unrest can find all sorts of ways to do that. So Lebanon seems poised on another one of those roller coaster rides of uncertainty and possible upheaval. I would hope that the United States would do everything in its power to halt any nefarious plans that some may have to destroy Lebanon or to try and bring about this catastrophic scenario. Lebanon has been one of the most peaceful places in the Arab world since the start of the upheavals associated with the poorly named Arab Spring. Lebanon, everything should be done to preserve that peace and tranquility, and all other problems, I think, can be resolved short of something as cataclysmic as that. Lebanon is quite robust and resilient and has been through many periods where there was no government for months on end. And even, as I said, recently, Lebanon did not have a president for 2 years. So Lebanon, the Lebanese can endure a lot. But the one thing that is for sure, no one in Lebanon in their right mind now wants a return to sectarian civil strife, whether it's Shiite, Sunni, or any other configuration in that respect. So it would be very, very important for the international community, the European Union, the United States, others of goodwill who care about Lebanon, to do their best to abort, nip in the bud, any brewing nefarious plans for bringing about unrest in Lebanon.